He had a second family 20 kilometers away, so I became his worst nightmare. My name is Sophie Whitman. It was a bright Saturday morning when my life split into two parts, before the bar and after the bar. I had just left the bakery near our home. I was smiling, thinking about surprising Tom with his favorite cinnamon bread when I saw him. At least, I thought I did. He was sitting at an outdoor table, only a few steps away from me. He was holding hands with a younger woman. She was beautiful, long dark hair, soft laugh. Her hand rested on his arm like it belonged there. My heart stopped. That can't be Tom, I told myself. 2 days earlier, I had driven my husband to the airport for his 1-month business trip to New York. He made those trips 4 times a year. I was used to them. But the man at that table looked exactly like him. Then I saw something worse. A small boy, around 6 years old, sat across from them. He was smiling, calling him Dad. My hands began to shake. I pulled out my phone and called Tom's number. The man at the table did not reach for his phone. But the voice on my call answered. "Hey, honey," he said. "I'm in a meeting in New York." And that was when my world cracked. I stood there frozen while he laughed at something the woman said. The voice on my phone sounded calm, normal, confident. "How's New York?" I asked, forcing my voice to stay steady. "It's great," Tom replied. "Busy, but good. I miss you." I stared at him while he said those words. He leaned forward and kissed her. I almost dropped my phone. "I have to go," he said. Meeting just started. The call ended. The man at the table slid his phone back into his pocket, the same pocket where Tom always kept his. My knees felt weak. I wanted to run over there. I wanted to scream. I wanted answers. But something inside me stopped. Instead of causing a scene, I stepped back. I watched. I memorized everything. The woman wore a gold ring. The boy looked like him. After 10 minutes, they stood up together. The boy grabbed his hand. They walked toward a parking lot. I followed from a distance. They got into a dark blue SUV. I knew that car, because I had helped him choose it. I did not follow them all the way. I stopped myself. If this was a lie, I needed proof, not emotion. That night, I barely slept. My mind kept replaying the scene, the kiss, the child, the car. The next morning, I called a private investigator. His name was Daniel Reed. He came highly recommended. I did not tell him everything at first. I simply said, "I need to know if my husband is living another life." He asked for Tom's full name, work details, travel records, and car information. I gave him everything. Tom and I had been married for 14 years. We shared a joint account. Every dollar I earned went into it. He often asked me to sign checks so he could move money into investment accounts. I never questioned him. I trusted him fully. For 1 month, Daniel followed him. And during that same month, Tom came home from his New York trip. He hugged me at the airport. He kissed my forehead. He told me he missed me. And I smiled back, because now I was watching too. The report came exactly 30 days later. Daniel asked me to meet him in his office. My hands were cold as I sat across from him. He placed a thick envelope on the desk between us. "You need to prepare yourself," he said gently. I opened it. Photos. Tom holding the same woman's hand. Tom walking into a small white house. Tom lifting the little boy into his arms. There were documents too. A marriage certificate. 7 years old. My breath caught in my throat. The woman's name was Clara Hayes. They had been married for 7 years. 7. Tom and I had been married 14 years. That meant he married her while still married to me. Bigamy. Fraud. Lies layered on top of lies. Daniel also found something worse. There was no offshore branch in New York. Tom's company confirmed it quietly when Daniel checked. The business trips were fake. For 7 years, those trips had only been to Clara's house 20 kilometers from mine. 20 kilometers. That was the distance between my marriage and the truth. I cried that night. Not loudly, not violently, just quiet tears that soaked into my pillow. 14 years. fertility treatments, doctor visits, tests that showed nothing wrong, yet no child ever came. And 20 kilometers away, he was playing father. The pain felt sharp, but something else grew inside me. Clarity. The next morning, I met a lawyer named Victor Hale. I brought copies of everything Daniel gave me. Victor read the documents carefully. "Do you have a prenuptial agreement?" he asked. "Yes," I replied. Tom had insisted on it before we married. I remembered feeling hurt at the time, but I signed it. Victor smiled slightly as he read one section. "There's an infidelity clause," he said. "If proven, you receive 85% of marital assets." My heart pounded. "And bigamy?" I asked. "That's criminal," he said calmly. I walked out of that office different than I walked in. I was no longer just a betrayed wife. I was a woman with proof. And Tom had no idea that his two worlds were about to collide. I did not confront Tom. Not yet. Instead, I asked Daniel to arrange something else. "I want to meet her," I said. Clara. 2 days later, I parked outside a small café, exactly 20 kilometers from my house. My hands trembled, but my mind was steady. She walked in wearing jeans and a light sweater. She looked tired. Not glamorous like she had at the bar, just human. She sat across from me. "I think we're married to the same man," I said quietly. She stared at me as if I had slapped her. "That's not possible," she whispered. "We've been married 7 years. I've been married 14. I slid the marriage certificate across the table. Her face drained of color. Tears filled her eyes as she pulled out her phone and showed me her own copy. 2 certificates. 2 dates. 1 man. "He travels for work," she said slowly. "So does mine." We both knew the truth at that moment. He had never traveled anywhere. He had just been switching homes. 20 kilometers. That was the distance between our lives. And now, we were sitting at the same table. Clara did not scream. She did not accuse me. She cried. "I thought something was wrong," she admitted. "He disappears 4 times a year for a month. Says it's for company projects." I nodded. He told me the same. We compared timelines on our phones. Every time he claimed to be in New York with me, he was at her house. Every time he told her he was working late, he was home with me. 7 years of perfect scheduling. It made me sick. "What about the boy?" I asked gently. Her son's name was Lucas. He was 6. Clara hesitated before speaking. "Tom was so happy when I got pregnant. He said it was a miracle." A heavy silence filled the cafe. Tom and I had been trying for a child for years without success. Doctors found nothing wrong with me. Suddenly, a thought crossed my mind. "Has he ever taken a DNA test?" I asked. Clara frowned. "No. Why would he?" I didn't answer. But for the first time, doubt entered her eyes. The more we talked, the more cracks appeared in Tom's perfect story. Clara told me something that changed everything. 3 years ago, he asked me to sign papers for an investment property, she said. He said it was for Lucas's future. My stomach tightened. Tom had asked me to sign similar papers. He said they were company investments tied to his offshore work. "Did you see where the money came from?" I asked. She shook her head. "I knew where it came from. Our joint account. Every paycheck I earned went there. Every bonus. Every saving. And I signed every check he placed in front of me." I felt anger rise in my chest, but I kept my voice calm. "We need records," I said. "Bank statements, property deeds, everything." Clara wiped her tears. "Why are you helping me?" "Because he lied to both of us," I replied. "And I won't let him keep winning." That was the moment we stopped being rivals. We became partners. Tom thought he was living a double life. He had no idea his 2 wives were now sharing notes. Over the next 2 weeks, Clara and I gathered evidence quietly. She copied financial documents from their house. I downloaded years of bank statements from our joint account. The numbers did not lie. Large transfers, repeated withdrawals, property payments made from funds I earned. Victor, my lawyer, reviewed everything. "This is bigger than infidelity," he said. "This is financial fraud." Daniel continued watching Tom. He documented every trip between our homes. Tom had a pattern. 2 weeks with me, 2 weeks with Clara. 4 extended business trips a year to balance the time. It was almost impressive. Almost. Clara agreed to something brave. She would request a DNA test for Lucas, saying the school required updated medical records. Tom laughed when she told him, according to her message to me. "Of course he's mine," he said confidently. That confidence gave me chills, because liars believe their own stories. And soon, one small test would shake his world. The DNA results came faster than we expected. Clara called me the moment she opened the envelope. Her voice was shaking. "It says 0% probability." The room around me felt still. Tom was not Lucas's biological father. Clara began to sob, not loudly, but deeply. "I never cheated," she whispered. "I was with him the whole time." That meant only one thing. Tom knew. He had known for 6 years that Lucas was not his son. Yet he played the role of proud father. Why? Control. Image. Maybe he needed the story of being a father to keep both lives believable. I felt something shift inside me. This was no longer just about betrayal. This was about manipulation on a deep level. That evening, Tom came home to me smiling. He kissed my cheek. "How was your day?" I looked at him differently now. I saw the lies behind his eyes. And for the first time, I smiled back, not out of love, but because I knew something he didn't. His empire was about to fall. 11. The first move was quiet. Victor advised me not to act in anger. "We strike once," he said, "and we strike clean." I began by opening a new personal account under my name only. It was legal. My salary was mine. The joint account required both signatures for large withdrawals. For years, I had signed whatever Tom placed in front of me. Now I stopped. When my next paycheck came in, I redirected it. Tom noticed within days. "Did the company delay your payment?" he asked casually over dinner. "No," I replied. "Why?" "The balance looks lower than usual." I shrugged. "Maybe market losses?" He stared at me for a second too long. Clara played her part too. She told him she wanted to manage some finances for Lucas's education. Tom resisted at first. Then he agreed. He always believed he was in control. Meanwhile, Victor filed preliminary documents in court, sealed and confidential. Bigamy, financial fraud, asset protection. The trap was not loud. It was patient. And Tom had no idea that the walls around him were slowly closing in. Tom began asking more questions. "Why are you reviewing old statements?" he asked one evening. "I'm organizing paperwork," I said calmly. He watched me carefully. For the first time in 14 years, I saw fear in his eyes. Clara reported similar tension at her house. He checked her phone once. He asked why she seemed distracted. Pressure changes people. Daniel continued tracking him. We now had a clear map of his routine, the drives between our homes, the nights he stayed late in parking lots to make calls. Victor found something else during a deeper financial review. 2 properties were purchased under a holding company name. The company was registered under Tom's middle name. Both properties were funded using transfers from our joint account and Clara's savings. He had built a hidden safety net. He thought it made him smart. Instead, it made him exposed. Victor prepared freezing orders for the assets. Once filed, Tom would not be able to move a single dollar. We decided on a date. Tuesday morning. Tom loved Tuesdays. He said they were his most productive days. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. The night before Tuesday felt strangely calm. Tom packed a briefcase and kissed my forehead. "Big meeting tomorrow," he said. I smiled. "Good luck." He had no idea what kind of meeting it would be. Clara and I spoke late that night. We did not cry anymore. Our voices were steady. "Are you ready?" she asked. Yes. At 8:30 a.m., Victor filed the documents in court. At 9 a.m., the bank received the freezing order. At 9:15 a.m., Tom's corporate office received notice of a financial investigation. At 9:30 a.m., Clara and I walked into his office building together. People stared at us. We looked different, but confident. Tom stepped out of an elevator and froze when he saw us standing side by side. His face turned pale. "What is this?" he demanded. Behind us stood two legal officers holding documents. Victor walked forward calmly. "Thomas Hale," he said clearly, "you are being served." Silence filled the lobby. And for the first time, Tom had nowhere to run. Tom tried to speak. "There's a mistake," he said quickly. "This is private. Let's talk at home." "Which home?" Clara asked quietly. The question hit him like a blow. The officers handed him the papers. Bigamy charges. Asset freeze notice. Fraud investigation. His hands shook as he flipped through the pages. "This isn't real," he muttered. "It's very real," Victor replied. Employees began whispering. Tom's boss stepped out of his office after receiving the audit alert. His expression was cold. "We need to speak," his boss said firmly. Tom looked at me, then at Clara, then back at the papers. "You planned this," he whispered to me. "Yes," I answered calmly. Not loudly, not proudly, just truthfully. Security escorted him to a private room upstairs. Clara and I remained in the lobby for a moment. I expected to feel wild satisfaction. Instead, I felt something steady, control. For 7 years, he had balanced two lives like a magician. Now the illusion was over, and everyone was watching the reveal. By noon, the news had spread inside his company. Tom's accounts were fully frozen. He could not access personal or business funds. His boss placed him on immediate suspension pending investigation. Victor later explained that the financial trail was clear. Money moved between accounts under false descriptions. Properties hidden under shell names. Tom called me that evening. "How could you do this?" he asked, his voice shaking. "How could you?" I replied. Silence filled the line. "I can fix this," he said desperately. "We can talk. I'll explain everything." "I already know everything," I said calmly. "Clara knows too." He stopped breathing for a second. "You met her?" "Yes." Another long silence. For the first time, Tom sounded small. "This will ruin me," he whispered. I closed my eyes. "You ruined yourself," I answered. When I ended the call, my hands were steady. The nightmare he built for 7 years was finally turning against him. And we were only getting started. The days after the exposure moved fast. Tom tried calling me again and again. I did not answer. He left long voice messages. Some were angry. Some were soft and full of fake regret. "I made mistakes," he said in one message, "but I love you." I saved every recording. Victor told me they could help show manipulation. Clara told me Tom showed up at her house late one night. He begged her not to testify. He said he would lose everything, she told me over the phone. "He already has," I replied. The bank confirmed that over 80% of our shared assets were legally secured under the infidelity clause. The prenuptial agreement he once pushed so hard for was now protecting me. Court dates were set quickly because bigamy cases are serious. Tom hired an expensive lawyer. He tried to delay the hearings. But documents do not lie. Marriage certificates, bank transfers, property deeds. The truth was heavy and clear. For the first time, I saw fear take over him completely. The man who once balanced 2 homes with perfect timing now struggled to balance his own story. And every lie he told only tightened the knot around him. The first court hearing felt unreal. I sat beside Victor in a simple grey suit. Clara sat a few seats away with her own attorney. We did not look at Tom when he entered the room, but I felt his eyes on me. The judge reviewed the documents carefully. 2 legal marriages, overlapping years. Shared financial accounts used without full disclosure. Tom's lawyer tried to argue confusion. He claimed clerical errors and emotional distress. The judge did not look impressed. "Marriage is not a clerical error," she said firmly. A quiet wave of relief moved through me. Outside the courtroom, reporters had gathered. Word had spread through business circles. A respected executive living a double life was a story people wanted. Tom lowered his head as cameras flashed. Clara stood beside me calmly. For years, I felt alone in my pain. Now, I felt supported. That afternoon, Victor told me something important. With the evidence we have, he said, this will not end well for him. I nodded. For once, the future did not feel uncertain. It felt controlled. During the financial investigation, another secret surfaced. One of the hidden properties was not just an investment, it was nearly paid off. And the down payment came directly from a large transfer, I remembered clearly. 3 years ago, I had received a work bonus after leading a major project. Tom suggested we secure our future with a smart investment. I signed the transfer without reading closely. That money built his backup plan. When I saw the paperwork in Victor's office, my chest tightened. It was never about love. It was about security for himself. Clara discovered something similar. Her savings account had been drained slowly over time to cover maintenance costs for that same property. He had used both of us. 2 incomes, 2 homes, 1 secret empire. Victor filed an additional claim for financial recovery. Tom's lawyer objected, but the paper trail was too clear. Every signature, every transfer. I realized something important then. Revenge was not about shouting or breaking things. It was about patience. And we had been patient. Tom tried one last move. He requested a private meeting with me before the final hearing. Victor advised against it, but I agreed, in his office, with security nearby. Tom looked different when he walked in. Unshaven, tired, smaller. I never meant for it to go this far, he said. It went exactly where your choices led it, I answered. He tried to explain. He claimed he felt pressure to be perfect. He said he did not know how to leave either of us without hurting someone. So you hurt both, I said, quietly. He reached for my hand, but I pulled it back. We were trying to have a child, I said, while you were playing father somewhere else. His eyes dropped. For a moment, I saw guilt. But guilt did not erase 7 years. I can rebuild, he whispered. Not with me, I replied. When I walked out of that office, I felt lighter. His words no longer controlled me. His promises no longer mattered. The final hearing was 2 days away, and I was ready. The courtroom was silent during the final decision. The judge spoke clearly and firmly. The second marriage was ruled legally invalid due to the existing first marriage. Clara's marriage was declared void under the law, protecting her from further legal damage. Tom was found guilty of bigamy and financial misconduct. He faced heavy fines and probation, along with a permanent mark on his professional record. The asset division followed the prenuptial agreement. 85% of marital assets were awarded to me. Clara received financial compensation through a civil settlement. The hidden properties were ordered to be sold. When the judge finished, Tom did not look at anyone. Reporters waited outside again. This time, Clara and I walked past them without speaking. We did not need headlines. The truth was enough. That evening, I returned to my quiet home. For the first time in years, the silence felt peaceful. Tom had built 2 lives 20 kilometers apart. Now he had none. And I had finally taken mine back. The weeks after the court ruling felt strange. For so long, my life had been filled with secrets, meetings, and quiet planning. Now, everything was calm. Too calm. Tom moved into a small apartment across town. Not 20 kilometers away this time. Just a tiny space with rented furniture and no one waiting for him. His company officially terminated his contract. The fraud investigation damaged his reputation beyond repair. Friends stopped calling. Invitations disappeared. Clara focused on Lucas. She began therapy to help him understand the changes. She told him the truth in a simple way. Tom would not be living with them anymore. Lucas took it quietly. Children often understand more than we think. As for me, I redecorated the house. I changed the curtains, repainted the bedroom, donated old furniture that carried heavy memories. One evening, I stood in the kitchen and realized something surprising. I was not angry anymore. The revenge had worked, but what mattered more was that I felt free. 14 years of marriage had ended, and somehow I was still standing. Clara and I met often after the trial. Not because we needed to plan anything else, but because we understood each other in a way no one else could. One afternoon, she told me she had decided to go back to school. She wanted to finish the degree she paused years ago. I stopped chasing my dreams when I started chasing him, she said. I understood that feeling deeply. Lucas began smiling more. Without Tom's constant lies, their home felt calmer. Clara said the air felt lighter. Tom attempted to call me again once. I let it go to voicemail. I lost everything, he said in the message. I hope you're happy. I listened to it twice. Then I deleted it. Happiness was not about his loss. It was about my peace. Victor finalized the property sales. The funds were transferred properly. My financial future was secure. For the first time, I started thinking about what I wanted. Not what we wanted. Not what he wanted. Just me. And that thought felt powerful. One evening, I drove past the café where I first met Clara. The memory no longer hurt. Instead, it reminded me of strength. If I had caused a scene that first day at the bar, none of this would have unfolded the way it did. I would not have gathered proof. I would not have protected myself. Patience saved me. I later heard through mutual contacts that Tom tried to defend himself socially. He claimed we exaggerated. He blamed stress. But documents speak louder than excuses. People believed evidence. His circle grew smaller each month. Meanwhile, mine grew stronger. I reconnected with old friends. I shared my story carefully, not with shame, but with honesty. Many women admitted they ignored red flags in their own lives. That surprised me. Pain often hides behind silence. If my story did anything, I hoped it showed that silence is not strength. Truth is. And sometimes, truth needs strategy. Months passed. One quiet morning, I received a letter in the mail. It was from Tom. I hesitated before opening it. Inside was a short note. He apologized without excuses this time. No blaming stress, no blaming pressure. Just simple words. I was selfish. I hurt you. I accept the consequences. I stared at the page for a long time. For years, I had waited for honesty. Now that it came, it felt distant. I folded the letter and placed it in a drawer. Not because I forgave him fully, but because I no longer needed anger to move forward. Clara called me that afternoon to share good news. She had been accepted into her program. Lucas was doing well in school. Life was rebuilding itself, slowly, naturally, without lies. That night, I sat on my porch and watched the sunset. 20 kilometers once separated two broken worlds. Now, that distance meant nothing, because the truth had erased it. Looking back, I sometimes think about that morning at the bar. The cinnamon bread in my hand, the shock, the phone call. If I had doubted myself, if I had ignored what I saw, I might still be living in that lie. Instead, I trusted my instincts. I chose evidence over emotion. I chose patience over chaos. Tom believed he could manage two families forever. He believed distance would protect him. 20 kilometers was not far enough. In the end, his greatest mistake was underestimating the women he deceived. Clara rebuilt her life. Lucas grew in a home filled with honesty. And I rebuilt mine stronger than before. I was not his nightmare because I screamed or destroyed him. I was his nightmare because I stayed calm. I gathered proof. I stood beside the truth. And when the time came, I let the law and his own lies finish the story. He had a second family 20 kilometers away. So I became his worst nightmare.